and welcome to this video about what young alums can learn from 50 Cent about personal development and leadership, presented by collegegradlife.com. I'm Dustin Norman. Now, I know this seems like an odd combination, young alums and what they can learn in personal development and leadership from somebody like 50 Cent, but having studied 50 Cent's life a little bit, just in the past days I recorded a podcast and wrote an article about how he made millions off of giving away free products. It really dawned on me that this is a man who went through a lot of personal development, and he really had to show a lot of personal leadership as he moved his life in a direction that I'm sure he couldn't have even dealt with. Now, it's something that's close to me because my mom was actually raised in generational poverty, and her family was from the South, and it was incredibly difficult for her to work her way up even to a middle-class lifestyle. And she always talked to me about how much of a choice she had to make for herself at such a young age. And I realized how important this must have been for 50 Cent too. Did you know that 50 Cent, by the time he was 19 or 20 years old, as Laura says in a documentary, is that he had bought himself a Mercedes-Benz? Which you think is crazy, but I mean, he was doing this as a crack dealer, as somebody who was selling drugs and had been raised by a teen mother at the time, which was incredibly difficult just to comprehend for somebody who comes from a lifestyle like I do. Now, as I think about the personal development that he had to make, the personal development choice really is what he had to do. And what he had to make, he had to make the decision for himself that he wasn't going to live the same life because he understood where it ended up. He was either going to go to jail or die. And after he had his son, he made the commitment to himself that he was going to focus on his future and not just on his present circumstances. He was going to transcend all the problems that were around him, and he was going to move into a different arena of life. And I think we can obviously all look back and say he has done it. Now, the one thing that I think is most important for young alums to take away in terms of personal development is that it's really about that choice. You need to be able to show yourself that it's all about the circumstances in which you want to propel yourself into, not the circumstances in which you're currently set in. You have to have that vision to look beyond what's in front of you and really go for your dreams. I think that's something we can all learn from 50 Cent because he had such a hard circumstance, and there's so many people who are raised in the same area and in the same environment that don't make it out, but he did because of that one difference. He was so focused on getting out and doing whatever he had to get out that he would take nothing less except for his best. And I think that part of personal development is something that every young alum can really carry into any part of their life. And now when it comes to leadership, I think it's a really important part that we touch on, that is 50 Cent was a really adamant person when it came to being a personal leader. He was willing to do whatever it took for himself to go to his dreamland. And this dreamland for him was to be able to move out of Jamaica, Queens, be able to take care of his family, be able to take care of his son, and provide for himself. Now, when you think about the leadership that it requires when you feel like you potentially are all alone, it requires the idea that you're going to be almost a servant leader. And what he had to do was be a servant leader to his customers, the people who were listening to his music. Which is why instead of going through a record deal after he was cut by Columbia, he made the decision to go on the mixtape circuit and continually just pump out new records so that he could provide with his customers the type of leadership that he wanted to see in any other artist, which was he was more focused on making good music and getting it to his customers than he was on making a dollar and a dime at that exact second. He was focused on building his brand as a leader. And that's something that I don't think that people really recognize about 50 Cent. That he changed the way that rappers now go through their mixtape circuit. You look at rappers like Lil Wayne, you look at certain rappers who release mixtapes like T.I. They do this because 50 Cent led the way. He was a leader in his own right by being a servant leader to his listeners. Now, these are two specific ways that I think all young alums can understand and learn about personal development and leadership from the rapper 50 Cent and now the rap mogul. I want to thank 50 Cent for doing everything that he did. I know he'll probably never see this video, but it's really important that you thank the people who inspire you to try to reach for your own dreams. So if you have a chance or an opportunity to see him or meet him after you've seen this video, tell him that Dustin Norman really thanks him for all the work that he's done. This has been a video on what young alums can learn from 50 Cent about personal development and leadership, presented by collegegradlife.com. Now remember, if you want to contact me, you can message me right here on this channel. You can email me at yelphost@gmail.com or get at me on Twitter at yelphost on Twitter. I want to thank you for watching, and I hope you have a good day and go out there and lead yourself.